Hey guys, what's up? Abby here, and welcome to everything changing for Frost DKs in patch 8.2. Now before I actually start the video, I'd like to say that not everything is final here. There may be some changes that happen after this video is posted. I will pin a comment down below of things that come after this video is posted so this video doesn't become outdated and you guys can still get accurate information. And also, I highly recommend joining the Death Knight Discord. I will put an invite link to that in the description right now, so you can go click on that. Join the community. It is a fantastic community with a lot of incredibly intelligent people that play Death Knight and are very knowledgeable about Death Knight. And also thank you to Bicep Pumps for helping me on this video. I really do appreciate that. And without further ado, let's get into everything changing for Frost DKs in the new patch. So the changes for Frost are mostly to combat the domination of Breath of Sindragosa, which I'm going to be referring in the video as BOS from now on, because I don't want to say the whole thing in the entire video, because it's going to be coming up a lot. Now, it's just dominating too hard. The other two talents are not even close to being competitive, and Ice Cap itself is one of the worst 100 tier talents in the game, and that's getting a straight buff we'll talk about later, but Obliteration is getting indirect buffs. It's not directly getting changed or anything, but the buffs that the class is receiving are significantly helping that spec. And Breath is getting changes to combat the problem with it, where it's just starving you of resources, and you have this little bit of a downtime before you actually start Breath, and you have downtime after Breath. I guess I'll just call it Breath instead of BOS. And that's a big problem with it. It just leads to 5 seconds of downtime before Breath and 5 seconds after while you're waiting for runes to do something. So let's actually start talking about the changes. So the first change that the spec is receiving is Frost Strike damage is being increased by 15%. There's not much really to say here. It does indirectly help the other two 100 talents. Ice Cap and Obliteration become a little bit more competitive since it's not directly helping Breath. It's not any buff to Breath at all because you don't use Frost Strike during Breath, but you do use Frost Strike during the other two talents and their uptime, Ice Cap being during Pillar of Frost and Obliteration being when you pop the cooldown. Pillar of Frost, which activates Obliteration. So change number 2, before I actually say it, I just want to say how Ice Cap works, because I don't know if a lot of people know how it works because they never run it. It's never ever run. It makes it so your Frost Strike and your Obliteration critical hits reduce the cooldown of Pillar of Frost by 1 second. Well, now it's going to reduce it by 3 seconds. That's a huge buff to the talent. We'll see if it makes it competitive now. We'll see if it makes it the build. I'm not going to say anything on that. This is not really an opinion video. This is just stating the facts of what's happening to the spec. Well, if it actually is a viable build, I will make a guide on it. And even if it's close, I'll still make a guide on it when the patch actually comes out. So change number 3 is that Runic Empowerment now has a 2% chance per Runic Power spent proc instead of the 1.5% on live. This means that Frost Strike now has a 50% chance to proc Runic Empowerment instead of the current 37.5%. Overall, a great change. Does decrease the downtime a little bit. In general, we will be generating a little bit more resources because of this, which is very nice. So change number 4 is Killing Machine is actually getting fixed. So previously, Killing Machine had a 1.5 RPPM, which is actually on live now. And it is getting changed to what it should have been, which is 4.5 RPPM real procs per minute. This is a big change to that effect, that passive effect. Killing Machine, for those of you who don't know, maybe you're new to the spec or maybe you're coming back after a while. Killing Machine makes your auto attack crits have a chance to give you a buff that makes your next Obliterate a guaranteed crit. So that is going up to 4.5 RPPM instead of the current 1.5. So change number 5 has to deal with Frost Fever. Currently, Frost Fever has a 20% chance on all targets that is on to generate Runic Power. So on each target, it has a 20% chance when ticking to give you 5 Runic Power. That is being changed to 30% on your main targets, and it diminishes on the other targets. So it's a bit of a change. It buffs it on single target, but it diminishes on AoE. So the last of the changes is an entire section all to itself, and that is the Breath of Sindragosa changes. Breath is getting a lot of different changes just to equalize out the talent because it is dominating the other two way too hard. So the first change is Breath of Sindragosa damage is being nerfed by 10%. Breath damage was just ridiculous for the short window that it had. It had about a 20 to 30 second window of your breath phases, and it was still dominating the other two talents very hard, and it was a big chunk of your damage, actually. And in AoE settings, it was crazy. In Cleave, it is still ridiculous. Breath of Sindragosa now grants you 2 runes when it is activated and when it expires. So when you pop Breath, you gain 2 runes. Now the reason they're doing this, and they even stated this, is because there is a pooling phase at the beginning of Breath, and then there's a long wait after Breath ends. These are 2 things that is a really big problem with the Breath build, and that is the 5 seconds of downtime before, maybe more, maybe less, depends on if you lost or not, and 5 seconds after Breath ends. You have this downtime where you're just sitting there waiting for runes. You don't have runic power. There's nothing for you to do but auto attack the target, and it feels awful. So they are doing this change to combat against that issue. This, in my opinion, is a great change. It feels very good. I've tested it. It feels phenomenal. The ability to just go right into your breath phases after your 3 obliterates and whatever howling blast, that you get is phenomenal. Feels great. And the ability to immediately be able to do things after breath ends is also just feels so good. It's such a great change. So thank you to Blizzard for that very positive change to breath. It feels awesome, and I can't wait for you guys to experience it on live. It will feel great in Raid. And lastly, Breath of Sindragosa is getting a bit of a cost increase. So currently on live, it costs 15 runic power per second that is channeling, or not channeling, but active. Now it is costing on PTR 16 runic power. Previously it was actually 18 runic power on PTR, but they bumped it down to 16. A little bit of a cost increase to equalize how strong it really is. Again, it is such a strong talent, it really is. They're trying to equalize it out, make the other 2 talents a little bit more competitive, not have too much of a disparity between all the 100 talents because there is a crazy gap between them right now. So overall, very positive changes for Breath. Alright, that concludes everything changing for Frosty Caves in patch 8.2. Obviously, we have the Visions coming out with the Heart of Azeroth expansion, but we are going to keep this video to just things changing for Frosty Caves, not things changing for everyone. And if you guys have any questions, do post them down in the comments below. I am including a link to the DK Discord, an invite link. So I highly recommend, if you are not a part of it, it has a ton of great information, a lot of very knowledgeable people, and a great community in general. I highly recommend, if you aren't part of it, join today. It's great. People are nice. Highly recommend it. And that concludes my video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to give it a like, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a good one.